This time we're covering a video by Jakon72. After picking up an AK from a chopper crash site just north of Zelenogorsk, of course he goes straight for the Mishkino tents. This is one of the most chaotic and dangerous places to be, and that's why I've only been there a handful of times myself. Before we get into the rest of the footage, let's look at the area itself and the patterns of player behaviour that occur there. We'll divide it up into three basic areas. In Zone 1 we've got the tents, and this is the reason people are here in the first place, lots of military loot. Zone 2 is the open area that you have to cross to get to the tents. Zone 3 is the forested area that gives players a view to the tents. Please remember I've drawn the areas pretty roughly. It's the concept which is important, not the accuracy of my mouse painting. If you're trying to go into Zone 1 just to loot and get out of there, you're under threat from three types of players. First of all, it could be someone like you who was just in there to loot. The tension is generally so high that if you bump into each other, there might be a fight. Even players who are usually very friendly might pull the trigger first. The second type are players who are intentionally waiting there to ambush and kill you. The third type are snipers who are waiting in Zone 3 for an opportunity to shoot anything that moves. In Zone 2, everyone runs through there as quickly as possible. It's very obvious that standing there is a bad idea, and it's a really big problem whether you're entering or leaving. Zone 3 is the most survivable part, though it's still pretty challenging, and you're actually under threat from four different types of players. The first and lowest threat are those who are within Zone 1. They're the least likely to spot you, and they've got other concerns on their mind. They're either focused on looting, they're already defending themselves from someone else. If they do fire a shot at you, they're giving away their position, and they're probably going to get hunted down. Secondly, you've got snipers who can spot you from across the other side. Thirdly, you've got the snipers on your own side who you might run into while you're travelling, they're travelling, or they might hear you fire a shot and come for you. And the fourth type are those who like to walk around Zone 3, hunting for snipers who they can engage at close range. If you remember in the last video I did touch on this idea for a bit. The same pattern emerges wherever there is an area with a high player population. People set themselves up with long-range weapons from vantage points, and then this whole kind of food chain develops from there. Back to Jakon. He's gone down to a spot which is very close to the tents. A really common spot to go to, and a lot of other people are going to be scanning that. If you saw my video How to Approach Dangerous Areas Part 2, I moved down to exactly the same position to try and give cover to someone who had just moved into the tents, and I went there because I didn't really have time to get a better spot. As soon as I reached the front of the tree, someone started shooting at me. That doesn't happen to Jakon though. He spots someone first across on the opposing hill. He then decides to take a shot which has a very low chance at success. There are two negative aspects to this. It could draw people in from close by. There could be someone 2 or 3 trees down from him who just starts running straight at the sound. And the other thing is, now the players he was shooting at know that they're being watched. They can now change position or leave the place entirely. It might have been better to flank first before firing a shot. That way they're less likely to change position and they don't know that you exist. And that will make it easier to get behind them and take a shot from a more effective range. Instead we're doing it the other way around, taking the shot and then flanking. When he does move, he does it very well, taking a good wide path which conceals his movement. I did exactly the same thing myself in that video I mentioned before. But when he gets over there, he's combing through the hill at about the same elevation that he saw the players moving at before. So he's about halfway up the hill. A reasonable tactic for the other players to make is to stop watching into the tents, which they were probably doing before, and to instead now move to a position where they can watch back to where they were shot at. And one way they might do that is by moving further up the hill and looking back down. Also, if they know that they were being shot at from across the other side, then they might be expecting someone to do a big movement like Jakon did and they can set up an ambush. And that's kind of what happened. I don't know if they did that intentionally. I don't even know if this was the same group of players. But it might have helped if Jakon was moving along the hill at a much higher level and at a slower speed. When he's first shot at, he's not sure if someone is actually shooting at him or it was a coincidence. I'd recommend that if you hear a shot crack over your head, you should behave as if someone is shooting at you 100% of the time. Though I suspect that part of the reason he ran back and forth for a second was to try and draw out another shot to get a better idea of where the other player was shooting from. Once Jakon spots the other player, he does really well from here. Instead of staying there and trading shots, he uses defilade to get behind them without being seen. His opponent stays in roughly the same position, looking down to where Jakon was just previously. So he's taken a risky shot and missed, did not change position, assumed that his target was going to maintain their position, and that's why he got flanked and Jakon gets the kill. It also helps that he's quite a good shot even with a lot of sway happening, a cracked scope, and when the other player is running.
There. Got him.
He's rewarded with quite a lot of loot, and he's made tons of noise. The best thing to do now would be to just get the hell out. Surely there are going to be other players creeping up to that spot like flies drawn to shit. Instead, he's thinking about going down to loot the tents, but when he's scanning the area, he accidentally discharges his gun.
Oh my god, that was stupid. I don't know why I don't know why I just shot. But it did. And yeah, time to move.
Now he finally realizes it's time to go, but as he gets up to leave, of course, someone else has arrived.
Hold. And I guess my... Oh, shit. We have a guy up here. We have a guy up here. Oh, shit. There. There's a guy. Come on. Loot the body. Shit. 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 Oh! Shit. Oh, kill him. Okay. Shit. Shit. Oh, no. Oh, if I had more ammo, I could have killed him. Oh. That was fun, though.
He did well to kill that one who, for some reason I don't understand, ran out from behind that tree. But he's actually getting attacked from two sides, and that's really tough. Jakon has good skills in these situations, but you also need a lot of luck to survive what happened at the end there. Strategically, he dug a hole that was too deep to climb out of. What you really want is to be able to choose how, when and where the fights happen. You don't want to let someone else get the initiative so that you're on the back foot. There's only so far that sheer accuracy, timing, reflexes, and split-second decision-making can get you. That's the end of the breakdown, so you can stop watching now if that's all you're here for. If you'd actually like to submit a video, we've come up with a new way to do that to make sure that we can keep track of everything. I want to make sure every video gets watched and considered, whether it's going to be used or not. Also want to make sure people understand exactly what they're getting into and that they agree to it all. So Boydie and Vanguard have put together a form for me. They're helping out basically because I'm busy as hell. Anyway, all you've got to do is click on that link that you can see at the moment. It's also in the description of the video. Fill out the form and we will watch whatever you submit. And I just want to say thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you for the support. I'm really, really happy at people's reaction to this series.